Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Justin and this is Dad Discovers, where I'm learning about the world through reaction videos. Today we're looking at a video called Why I Love Australia as an American. So this should give me some insight into Australia from the perspective of an American. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Hello, everyone. We are on my couch today, which is a little bit different from what we normally do, but that is because daylight savings time is this weekend. I also work a full 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. job, so by the time I'm home, I kind of run out of light, so we're working with what we have today. Now, I've got my laptop here.
I hate daylight savings times, or rather when it ends. In November? It gets dark at like 5 o'clock p.m. here, and it is terrible.
Because we have
It's so much better when it gets
freaking
dark
list about the
at
reasons
9.
why I love Australia. I am even wearing my Australia top that I got at the Queen Vic markets for probably like $2. Let's go. If you guys can already tell, I do have an American accent, so you might be a little confused on like, girl, why are you talking about Australia? You sound American. Fun fact, I was actually born in Australia, lived here until I was 8 years old, in this very house, which is crazy. I don't know if you guys can tell actually sometimes, because like in my other vlogs and stuff, the whole house is falling down. There's plaster, it needs to get painted. But anyways, I then moved over to the US where I lived in California until about 2 years ago when I moved back to Australia. So I think it's a unique perspective of like being born in Australia, growing up here, but then leaving and coming back. I think if you're someone who lived in Australia their whole lives, you might not think of these as very unique. I mean, I think of things in California all the time that are very normal. An Australian going over there is like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I love this country because it's got a yellow school bus, for example. More specifically, I'm living in Melbourne, so I'm gonna be kind of giving it from a Melbourne lens. Keep in mind that these are my opinions on why I love Australia. You might have a different opinion, but at the same time, I do want to hear your thoughts too. So if you have an agreeing opinion or a disagreeing opinion, definitely leave it down in the comments. One of the first reasons on why I love Australia is just the diversity that this country has. You can have a ton of deserts, you can have mountains, you can have forests, you can have beaches. Oh my God, everyone knows about
Well, I mean, I
Australia.
feel like we have that here. You know, we have mountains, beaches, deserts, small towns, big cities. I feel like, I mean, I'm sure Australia's on a whole different level, but we have that
Beaches,
here.
like, let's be honest. There's snow, but there's like tropical side of things too. Like, I feel like just the area is so diverse and you can kind of see it all within like a day's travel. I was recently talking to someone at work who
That
was
you
saying
can't really see it all here in a day's travel. You know, if I want to go to the desert, I have to head west. 1,000 miles or more.
that, if you go to the certain area within South Australia, it's kind of like you're traveling within Europe where it's like, oh my God, I saw beaches and then mountains and then forests and then desert and then like everything in between. So like that's why I love
That would be
Australia
really
so
cool
much
to
is
see
that
it all
it
in one
has
day.
that diversity and you can get so many experiences just by staying within the one country. It's also just generally a very beautiful country. Like obviously there's gonna be some areas that are like, okay, walking down Chapel Street probably isn't the prettiest thing in the books, but at the same time, like the natural beauty and just the amazing scenery that you can get in Australia is just top notch. Another thing that is very popular that I think a lot of people love when they're an American and come visit Australia is the unique animals. You've got things
I
like
figured this would be on the list just because that's like one of the first things I think of when I think of Australia is the wildlife.
echidnas and koalas and all these different animals that are native to Australia. Like generally you could just like go out to your random park and see like a ton of different animals. Magpies I think are scary but at the same time really cool, just like the sounds that they make too. Anytime I call anyone in California they can immediately tell when I'm in Australia or not just because the sounds of the birds when I'm talking on the phone because I'm normally going on a walk. It's always just like, hey girl, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, I'm good. My day was good. And all you can hear in the background is just like magpie sounds and other bird sounds and then maybe a cockatoo or two just making the loudest sounds ever. I've made a bunch of vlogs too where you can hear all of the birds in the background as soon as I'm walking outside. It's just like a very Australian thing. Like you're in Australia when the birds are freaking screaming their heads off. This one is a little bit more specific to living in Melbourne and especially within the city. But on certain days, there are some hot air balloons that lift off on the east side of the city and make their way across to the west side. And it's one of the coolest experiences because you like wake up.
That's cool. Hot air balloons are pretty. I like hot air balloons. I've never ridden one, but I think they're cool. We don't have a lot in the area where I live, there is a little festival. It's pretty small, once a year. We went last year, and it was too windy, so the balloons couldn't go up. But just about 2 months ago, my wife and I went on vacation to. We spent half a week in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and half the week in San Francisco. And in Albuquerque, there was a huge balloon fest. They advertised it as the largest balloon festival in the world. I don't know if that's true or not, but there were over 500 balloons there. So I mean, it was huge, but it was really cool. We got some really good pictures out of there.
In the morning, you're heading to work, you're going to your 9 to 5 job, and you just look up, and then there's a giant hot air balloon just like on top of Flinders Street, or like going across
That
the
would be
city.
pretty
I
cool
have
to see
taken
just on your
so many
daily,
goddamn photos.
looking
If
out your
you type
window.
in the search bar hot air balloons, I swear to God, there will be like 100 different photos. And I have never been on a hot air balloon. It's simply just taking photos of the balloons that are around the city. If at any point I leave Australia and I get to come back, just seeing those hot air balloons is like, oh my gosh, it's home. I know other countries obviously have hot air balloons, but I think this is just something specific that reminds me a lot of Australia and is a reason on why I love Australia. I think adding to the hot air balloons as well is that there's a big focus on art and just general creativity here. You see a lot of murals, you see a lot of art museums, you just see a lot of people expressing themselves artistically, and I think it's quite supported by the community. And now I cannot talk about Melbourne without specifically.
Yeah, for art, like it depends on where you're at. It's hit or miss here. Some places you go and you see hardly any kind of art, and then some places you go and it's like everywhere. Especially like with street art and stuff like that. Like it's very hit or miss depending on the town you're in.
About the events that are held in Melbourne. As we all know, the beginning of January, we kick off with the Australian Open. My boyfriend's also a professional tennis player, so I am so big on the Australian Open. I went almost every day that I could this year and every day last year as well. I am such a huge fan of the tennis. But then on top of that, they also have other events. So they have Formula One, which I went to for the first time. And then there's Melbourne Cup on as well, which is the horse racing. I think it's so cool because in my eyes, Australia is such a remote part of the world compared to where other big, countries are and other big populations are. It's so cool to see that on the bottom of the world, I know it's kind of arbitrary because the earth is a globe, so it's not really on the bottom. But anyways, but this small little city, and there are so many sporting events and so much support from around the world that are central in this exact spot. Another fun thing that I've talked about in some other videos too are the public holidays. Now, there's different public holidays depending on which state you are, but since I'm in the state of Victoria, we have events that a little bit more centered around sports and just athletic events. So for example, Melbourne Cup we have off, which is a holiday.
Wow, holidays for sports. We should have that for, we have the Super Bowl for American football, and it's on a Sunday night. And everybody stays up all night, and then everybody has to go to work Monday morning. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I don't know why they don't just make it into a holiday.
For the horse races. We also have the grand final, which is the Australian Football League. It's their final, so we get the full day off of work too. There's also just some other holidays there. Definitely compared to America, you don't get a lot of holidays. I think just in general, the normal amount of annual leave that you get is 2 weeks, but then some of those are used up by the holidays. But I think in Victoria, we have something like 10 holidays or something. I'm going to put what the actual number is because I don't know right now. But that's a crazy amount of holidays compared to living in America. So other holidays there. Definitely compared to America, you don't get a lot of holidays. I think just in general, the normal amount of annual leave that you get is 2 weeks, but then some of those are used up by the holidays. But I think in Victoria, we have something like 10 holidays.
New Year's, Australia Day, Labor Day, Holy Saturday, Easter. Yeah, there's a few of those we don't have here.
Holidays or something. I'm gonna put what the actual number is because I don't know right now. But that's a crazy amount of holidays compared to living in America. So love the holidays, love what the holidays are about, and I love not working. So
who doesn't?
Those are more reasons on why I love Australia. This is actually one of the big reasons on why I moved to Australia too, but I found that the quality of food is so much higher here in Australia than it was in America specifically. Especially why I love Australia too is the brunch culture. Like, I feel like you can go.
I watch another guy on YouTube, and he moved from America to Australia just a few years ago during the pandemic. And on his videos, he was talking about how different the food was. And he said, not bad. He said, at first it was bland, but that's only because we put so much, salt and stuff in our food that over there it tasted bland. He said, once he got used to it, it was really good. And then when he came back here, it was super salty.
To any cafe within Melbourne and you're gonna have like great quality food. I remember cracking an egg in Australia for the first time when I moved back, and I was shocked at the color of the egg yolk. In America, it's quite standard if you buy like random eggs, the egg yolk is gonna be kind of yellow and kind of pale. But
What color are y'all's eggs? Is that not normal?
here in Australia, they're like near bright orange. They have so much nutrients in them. And I'm like, wow, you can already see the difference in the quality just in eggs. And even when you order like scrambled eggs, they're not pale yellow. They're like actually like a deep orange. They're not even yellow. So yeah, just overall the quality, loving it. A smashed avo is my absolute.
Yeah, our eggs are like yellow, especially scrambled eggs. So it's just a pale yellow, like she said.
I love you. Another thing adding on to the event side of things is the non-reliance on cars around events. So normally when there's like a big event going on like Formula One or the tennis, it's actually faster and cheaper to take a bus or a train in to the event rather than driving. Like literally the traffic is insane. You don't want to drive. And
wow.
It's so normal for like everyone to take the train. I feel like in America it was like only the poor people take the train. Here in Australia, it's so normal.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is here. Like we don't have public transport like widely available across the country. All the bigger cities have it, of course, but even when you go into those cities, it seems like it's treated as like she said, the poor people take the public transport. Where in these videos I'm watching, it seems like in other countries, like in Europe and such, like everybody takes public transport, which is great.
People that I know that are like executives at big banks or people who are earning like 200, 300K.
Yeah, you would never see that here. I seriously doubt.
Easy. It's literally more convenient than taking a car. So I feel like for that, I love Australia because it's like, oh my God, this is so much easier. Like I don't have to worry about an Uber. I don't have to pay for an Uber. Good job, Australia. Another check in my book. When I was a kid, I actually had an Australian accent. Then when I moved over to America, because I was around like 8 years old, I lost my Australian accent and kind of morphed into this American accent that I have now. Both of my parents still have Australian accents as well, so it's kind of like nostalgic for me to think of Australian accents. So because of that, another reason on why I love Australia is the freaking accents. Yeah. Like everything just sounds so fun, so cute. It's so funny too because I remember talking to an Australian and I was like, "Oh my God, I love your Australian accent." And she's like, "Are you kidding? I think the Australian accent is like so gross and I don't like it and it's lazy and all these things."
What?
And she's like, "I think your accent is amazing, like your American accent." And I was like, "What? You're kidding me." Like American accents I feel like are so jarring in comparison. Yeah. I think it was like Australian
I feel like accents add like character. So anytime, I hear somebody with an accent, it to me it just adds character. And then when I'm here, and I don't know if other people think this, but when I'm here and I hear the American accent or just normal what we hear every day, it's boring. It's very boring.
Voted like the most hottest accent, or I think it was like a Kiwi accent, which is not far off. But yeah, I just love Australian accents. It reminds me of home, reminds me of all my family, and it just reminds me of a good time. Also kind of adding to the accents too is all of the slang. Like the fact that everything is shortened, everything is kind of cutesy, everything is made more fun. You like take off the end and you add a Y, and that's like an Australian term. That's just so fun, and I absolutely love that about Australia. It's like a cute little quirk about Australians shortening everything. I don't know. I think it's so fun. One thing I do love about Australia...
Come on, give us some examples. I want to hear some stuff.
I noticed when I did move over from America as well, is that there's overall just less competition generally because there are less people. Like just the populations are simply less than they were in California and in the United States. When I was in America, I was working at a big tech company and like the amount of competition was crazy. I was also living in the Bay Area, which is a place where all these people are like incredibly smart, incredibly competitive.
Yeah, competition here, it's like everybody's super competitive about everything, especially like at work. If you work in a group setting, it can be very competitive to the point where when you're friends with your coworkers, are you really friends with them? Because some people be backstabbing you just to get that edge. It's terrible.
Driven at the same time. So you're just looking around and you're like, oh my God, I'm like, this is so hard. How am I supposed to get any job when there's so many of these other people who are like insanely better than me? I feel like Australia has a good balance where they still have people like that, where they're incredibly intelligent, driven, all that stuff. But because the population is less, you simply are competing with those people less. So I think really just from like a population standpoint, like it's just less people. So there's gonna be overall like slightly less traffic. Now there's still traffic, don't get me wrong, but compared to the US, compared to the Bay Area, very different. Another thing I love about living in Australia is not having my health insurance connected to my employer. In America, you're cut off your parents' health insurance when you turn 25. I didn't experience working in America without having health insurance from my parents, so I don't actually know it from firsthand. It did stress me out thinking, oh my God, I have to make sure my employer covers my health insurance. But like moving to Australia was so easy to get health insurance because it's just like Medicare. If you're a citizen, I think you're like automatically signed up for it as a citizen. And it's just like the easiest thing. It's like, okay, I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to like pay monthly payments. I think it comes through.
So Australia,
like,
free healthcare also.
Taxes anyways.
It's
but
three
yeah,
countries
it's so
in a
easy.
row with free healthcare. So yeah. But yeah, I hate how our insurance is tied to our employers. You quit a job, your insurance is gone. You get terminated or whatever, insurance is gone. You have no insurance, you find a new job, and even when you get hired on the new job, a lot of times there's like a grace period. You might have to work there for 90 days or a couple months before you're even eligible to sign up for insurance through them. So, what happens if you get sick then?
To think about it, and I love Australia for that, so thank you, Australia. So specific to Melbourne as well, something that I love about Melbourne is the skyline. Like the skyline I think is the most gorgeous freaking thing ever, and obviously other cities have skylines, like duh, but I just feel like it's so beautiful the way that like the geography is as well, because you can be like in Williamstown looking back at the city and it's just like gorgeous, or you can be on the other side like Mornington Peninsula. I know that's a little bit far, but like you can see back and like see the skyline, and it's like no matter where you are within like a 60-kilometer radius of the CBD, like you get to see this like present skyline.
That's cool.
Which I think is just so cool, and especially like the sunset and like the lights twinkling, like it's just, I love it. It's one of the coolest things. This is a fun little reason why I love Melbourne as well, is the sounds that the trams make. That little like bell sound, and it's so funny to me too when like a car is completely blocking the tram tracks and then the tram is like so polite and it's just like but like because it doesn't have like a big old horn like a car has, it's just like ding 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 ding. It's almost like it's being really polite.
That's the same in San Francisco. I think she said she was from the Bay Area. Like I said, we had just gone to San Francisco, and they have a ton of public transport, but they have the transits like that, and they got the ding ding ding, and they got the little cable cars with the same thing.
But it's obviously not being polite because it's like, oh my God, move out of the tram tracks. You're literally blocking. I can't go the way that I want to. And all you hear is... So I think that's just really funny of Melbourne too. If you made it this far into the video, please leave a star emoji so I know you made it to the end. As I mentioned before, I do have an 8 a.m. to 5 job, so I'm working that every day and I only get to do YouTube on the side. So if you guys want to help support me and maybe help...
That was cool. That was interesting. It's good to see, perspective of a country through, for me, it's good to see from an American's perspective, because I feel like I can relate with them on certain things more. Obviously, I don't know her, so even within America, people are very different. But when you're looking at countries from the perspective of the people from there, they have a very different perspective than people from other countries, if that makes sense. I think I'm getting tongue-tied. But yeah, that was super cool. It was all interesting. Thanks for checking in and watching it with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.